She frequently rethought, revised ideas, and interpreted her own works, used fresh sources and new methodologies. In her work, Ashoka and the Decline of the Mauryas, she argues that Ashoka had to be understood in his historical context. She sees Dharma and edicts as indicative of his thinking about the world around him as a political intervention to hold together an empire. In her earlier works, she views Mauryan Empire as a uniformly centralized state. Later, she changed her view and argued it was a structure comprising three kinds of units. First one was dominant metropolis, secondly core areas, and thirdly peripheral areas. Her paper on literacy and communication, Some Thoughts on the Inscriptions of Ashoka, deals with the social history of Mauryan period. It deals with categories of people and their literacy. Also, Ashokan edicts were meant to be read out aloud and heard. This essay emphasizes the significance of communication in Mauryan Empire. She also points out errors and miscommunications in the edicts. Her another major contribution was in the lineage to state transition debate. Ancient Indian Social History was published in 1978. It discusses the problems of historiography critically. Also explores the Buddhist Brahmin traditions within the context and beyond. It discusses different modes of renunciation, also drawing attention to topics not being explored by previous historians. She insists on the inseparable connections between social, economic, and political history. She resists the tendency to reduce this to equivalent domains. In discussion on dana and dakshina, ritualized mode of gift giving, which she argued were certainly important and if not more significant for the social meaning established between. She also relied on anthropological theories. This book discusses Varna and Jati and the social order, also the dynamics within it. Attention is given to the dynamics and challenged the notion of a static sterile past. Thapar had a systematic intervention on gender. Her works on Shakuntala is a best example. She made use of wide range of texts and different versions. She sets a dialogue between the past and present. Her works try to correlate textual and archaeological evidences. Since 1970s, she published extensively on Sanskrit epics, argued Ramayana and Mahabharata were composed over a long period of time. She also says that we can't say all of it is truth, but mindful use is helpful in reconstructing history. They do carry elements of time. They document the process of change like transition from clan to kingdoms. Her work, The Past Before Us, studies ancient texts to understand how they perceived and represented the past as well as the society. It explores how ancient texts and its modes of representation and the way the texts themselves think about time. In this book, she questions the conclusions of 18th and 19th century Europeans as well as later historians. She argues that early India lacked historical writing. If we understand history as a mode of reflecting about past, we can say India had a sense of history. Even divine forces and narratives are set in chronological time with a commentary on their presence. Her distinction between embedded history and externalized history is very important. By embedded history, it means historical consciousness can only be extracted with effort from myth, epic, genealogy, etc. Externalized history exhibits more evident historical consciousness, example biography and chronicles. She argues that existence of many Ramayanas highlights the politics of its production. Her work Somanada examines how Ghaznai's attack was either ignored or written in diverse ways over time. This event is widely believed to have caused deep-seated trauma, but she says this Hindu hurt has a recent colonial lineage. She explores the historical context that produced discordant accounts of an event in the past that's often evoked in the present. She has emphasized that historian does not necessarily have to prove the events described in Sanskrit epics are historically accurate. She holds that Mahabharata took shape over a period of several centuries, from mid 1st millennium BC to early 1st millennium CE. Her studies of Puranas argued that the genealogical section of every Purana is a result of his change in historical consciousness. Also, she emphasizes the importance of contextualizing history and she gives emphasis to sea and sea trade. In her work, The Past as Present, several controversies about early Indian history and the point of interest in upper middle class, predominantly urban laypersons, are evoked. Her works also deals with issues of historiography, implications of communalism, writing history textbooks, Aryan debates, the epics, historical reconstruction, gender relations, stereotypical notions, etc. In talking history, she brings out an innovative form of dialogue as a fruitful triangular conversation between Ramin Jahanbegloo and Neeladri Bhattacharya about the nature of history, historiography debates, past and present, history and political issues, etc. Her another work, Indian Culture as Heritage, tries to revisit the notion of heritage. We should treat their meanings with respect and attempt to understand them. Also, we need to create space for diversity and differences. She is also among the historians to write for school children, but it became a controversy from 1970s.